And then we are going to go ahead and get started with a reading, and I'm going to pass it over to Sanji Jacobs to start.
Thank you so much, Sabrina, and hello, NCOBs. It is wonderful to see everybody's face and to be with you all this afternoon. We're going to have an amazing town hall, but let me just start off and get us centered. I have a very short reading, but it sort of speaks to me about where I am sort of on my life journey right now and how I've been thinking about NCOBs. So I hope that it resonates with all of you as well. It's by George Eliot, and it says, "It is never too late to be what you might have been." So I think those are short, powerful words that really speak to the heart and about what the future can hold for all of us. So on that note, I'm going to be brief and I'm going to turn it over to B because we have an incredible, actually, I'm going to turn it over to Sabrina because we have an incredible guest who's going to be with us today. So I don't want to take up another minute.
Thanks, Sanji. Thank you for that. And as many of you know, and maybe heard today in an email, we have a very, very special guest with us. Miss Ray Cooper is joining us tonight. Yay, Ray! The legend that is Ray, and has greeted so many faces at NCOBs and is going to continue to greet us all tonight. And so, Ray, do you want to kick us off with some questions?
I certainly do. Hello, everyone. It's just really great to be here. And I want to say congratulations right off to Sanji. This month she started as her first month as board chair, and she's been excellent on the board. I know she'll be an excellent board chair, no doubt in my mind. So maybe I'll start off by asking you, how did you get involved with Outward Bound?
Well, thank you, Ray. Thank you for the kind words of encouragement and support. So my Outward Bound journey actually started, I can't believe it, but 7 years ago. So I joined the board in March of 2015, and I've been here ever since. It's been incredible. But it actually just started in a conversation with a friend of mine that some of you all may know, Michelle Taylor. We were having breakfast and just talking about life. And I shared with her that I had become sort of enamored with the whole story of Cheryl Strayed and how a woman could go out and do a hike on the Pacific Crest Trail by herself, and how that was impossible for me, that I would never be able to do something like that. And I didn't know anyone who could do that. And Michelle looked at me and said, well, first of all, it's not impossible for you. You can do anything. I was like, oh, I don't know about that. And she was like, and second of all, you do know someone who does things like that. I do that. And that was sort of the introduction for me. I'd heard about Outward Bound growing up in New York City, but I'd never personally experienced the organization. So Michelle kind of opened up the door, and then I met Whitney and members of the board, and just knew that this was another place for me to explore more that was within me.
Love that, Sanji. Thank you so much for sharing. It's so great. So we are now going to go into some Outward Bound, North Carolina Outward Bound School updates. Ray, what's our next question?
Our next question is B, for who needs no introduction. B. Armstrong, Executive Director at the North Carolina Outward Bound School. And I hope you'll all get to meet B. Those of you who haven't, I'm going to also read a short quote because I'm the quote person. And when I saw this quote, it reminds me of B, and this will give you an idea of who she is. It's very short, not as short as Sanjay, but if I'd shut up, it'd be short. It's a quote by Bob Pay. It's the first one in the book of readings, North Carolina Outward Bound School, and it says, "Be tough yet gentle, humble but bold, swayed always by beauty and truth." Bob Pay. So there you have that. Moving right along, because Bill get mad at me if I go on anymore. I'd like to ask you, B, what's going on now at the North Carolina Outward Bound School?
Thank you so much, Ray. It's great to see everybody on the call. I first want to start out with that. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to join us for this call and to hear a little bit more about what's going on at the North Carolina Outward Bound School and our people, our programs, and our priorities. And that's usually what I like to keep it to, is the 3 Ps when I'm giving updates, because I think it just makes it a little more clear and concise. I also want to say that I am actually right now on the coast of North Carolina visiting Ray Cooper. So I've had the great pleasure over the course of the past 24 hours of spending time with Ray. And what many of you on the call may not know is that Ray has a long tenured history with the North Carolina Outward Bound School that spans over 30 years. And it has been tremendous for me as I'm doing my onboarding in the executive director role to be able to spend time with people such as Ray, with the board of directors, with a number of our different community members that span generations, with our current staff, admin staff in the town office, and also field staff in the Everglades and at our base camps in North Carolina. And I've had the great opportunity just to learn so much about the North Carolina Outward Bound School. And you all know this community, the roots run very, very deep. And Ray, I think you're a testament to that. So I want to thank you for all of the things that you've been helping me learn over the course of the past couple of months as I've been onboarding in my role as the new ED at NCOPS. So we have a number of new staff that are coming in right now. All of our assistant instructors are in the process of starting their journey with the North Carolina Outward Bound School. And I'd love to see, either by a show of hands or you can put it in the chat, how many of you were instructors for NCOPS? All right. Do you remember what it was like that first moment when you came into the fold and into the community at NCOPS and the different people that you met during your journey, where you were, the excitement of starting to meet the people that would be in your crew with you? Well, I got a really good taste of this earlier in the week in the office, just hearing the laughter as a number of these new staff were in the library sharing pizzas and telling stories and just listening to the chatter and the excitement. And it is so heartwarming to be at this place, because we have, as you know, been in a much different place as we've been navigating COVID. And so that is a big part of our trajectory now as we're starting to look at our programming, opening up, onboarding new people into the system, and thinking about what our staff trainings are going to look like over the course of the next 3 to 4 to 5 weeks. And again, we've got about 18 people coming in, and that is through new staff, but also through a BIPOC fellowship, the Hearst Fellowship. So we've got a few different crews that we are training. In addition to that, we have a number of new staff that are starting in the town office. So this is a really good sign, and it feels good, again, to be at this place, because we've been at about 50% capacity with our operations and our programs that we're delivering primarily through our wilderness programming. We are still in a place where we're navigating constraints between our supply and our demand. Our demand continues to be off the charts. We have people calling for programs daily. And the reality is right now we are still looking at our staffing constraints. So as noted, we've got a lot of staff that are coming into the pipeline in the assistant instructor roles. We still are struggling to find staff in our lead instructor, and course director roles. So what we saw during the pandemic is that a number of people during the year that we were not doing programming, a number of people decided to go back to graduate school or to have a natural pivot in their careers. So that is an area that we're addressing right now with a strategy staffing group that consists of a number of different cross-functional teams within the organization. And we've also hired a recruiter that is helping us throw a much wider net to look at how we're going to bring more people in that instructor, lead instructor, and course director roles. We're already seeing traction in those efforts. And so if there are any of you out there that would like to come back and instruct a course, please let us know. And also, if there are people within your spheres of influence that you would like to connect with that you think might be good candidates for instructing wilderness programming at the North Carolina Outward Bound School, please let us know. I'm going to switch gears into our community programs. We have a lot of really exciting stuff that is happening with our community programming. I've restructured that department. We're now under the community program umbrella. We have our educators programs. We have our Outward Bound professional programs. We have our virtual programs. We have Charlotte Unity programs, which we've got Alexis, who is on the call that's going to speak shortly to our Charlotte programming. And then that's an area where we're also starting to look at our Atlanta programs. Sarah Goldman has been running our Outward Bound professional programs. She is now overseeing the community programs for us. So a lot of exciting things are happening on the ground right now. In the field, we're delivering day in, day out. We just wrapped up a Moorhead Cane program in person on the UNC campus that was tremendously successful. We are also serving a number of different clients virtually and have been over the course of the past year. Those virtual clients, a lot of them are now coming into the field to do wilderness programming. So good synergies between the virtual programming and then turning that into wilderness programs down the line. I'm going to turn it over to Alexis for a moment to speak to what's happening in Charlotte with our breakfast, our fundraising breakfast that's coming up, as well as the Unity program. Over to you, Alexis.
Thanks, Bea, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Alexis J. Taylor, and I'm the Charlotte Program Coordinator. And so for a quick update with our Charlotte Unity Project, as a reminder, our Charlotte Unity Project's been around for over 25 years, and we provide a free 7-day backpacking and rock climbing course at NCOBS for 9th through 11th grade students. And so this year we have 48 students who are chosen. We had over 80 applications come in of interest, which is fantastic. So it's very hard to narrow that down. And so with that being said, the students are getting ready to gear up and get their medical forms together and off for an adventure. As also a reminder with the Unity course, this is not just a traditional NCOBS course. We actually go even deeper where the students come back and return to their school where they are looking to do some sort of school or community project. And that's where really a lot of the magic also happens is when they come back, take what they learned from the wilderness course, and then be able to give back to their community. And one highlight I definitely want to take this moment to quickly share is from a school named East Mecklenburg High School, where our advisor took some of the Unity students who are part of the Unity Club, again, to give back to their community or school. And they actually worked together to participate in Operation Sandwich and made over 100 turkey sandwich for the emergency shelters. There's a lot more picks, but in this pick, there's actually 2 students who went last year and a few more students who will go this year. And so again, as a reminder, the Unity Project is an amazing, amazing opportunity, and it breaks down barriers and allows students this opportunity to be able to go in Charlotte to have an amazing time. And so we also have 2 other programs in Charlotte. So if anyone would love any deeper updates with our Charlotte programs that we have and all the things that are going on and what we're looking to do, please feel free to reach out as well. Another big thing that's coming up is that next Friday, we have our Unity breakfast, which is a huge fundraising event to make sure that we can continue to do the Unity Project in Charlotte for years to come. And so that's coming up on the next Friday. And we also have several other events as well. Again, so much going on in Charlotte. And again, feel free to reach out to myself if you would like any deeper updates. But that's a quick update, kind of high level from me, Bea. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alexis, and thanks for the great work that you're doing in Charlotte. And to that end, I'd love for all of the staff that are on the call right now, if you could raise your hands and actually come on and introduce yourself quickly and just quickly say what you do. I think that would be great. And we'll tag. So Sabrina, I'll start with you. Can you just tell people what your role is?
Of course. Hello, everyone. I think I know or have at least talked to most of you on this call. I'm Sabrina. I'm the development director here at North Carolina Outward Bound School, and I will tag Nicole.
Hello, Nicole Fava. I've been here about 10 years. I am the Director of Communication and Marketing. I'm going to tag Whitney Setzer.
Hello, Whitney Setzer, Associate Director of Student Services, and I've been here since 2004. And I'm going to tag Erin Broom.
Hi there, Erin Broom, Director of Student Services at NCOB since 2001. And I will tag, let's see, Sabrina.
Thanks, Erin. I will tag Lydia. Are you still on? Yes.
I'm still here.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Hey, I am Lydia. I am a student services representative, primarily supporting open enrollment students, and also 2006 course alum through the Table Rock Base Camp. And I will tag, I'm not sure who else we have on this course. Alexis, do you want to go?
Just a reminder, I'm the Charlotte Program Coordinator. My name is Alexis J. Taylor. I've been here since 2020. I was on the Charlotte Advisory Board for 6 years. And before that, I am a Unity alum, Unity intern alum, and I've done a few courses after that. And I think that's all the staff, unless I missed someone.
That's all the admin staff. Do we have any instructors, any current instructors who are on the call?
Yeah, I'm Alan Coulter. I just finished my 31st season at the Everglades base as an instructor.
Fantastic, Alan. Thank you so much. I'm going to pause for a second. I think we may have one or two other instructors, but Alan, in a nutshell, can you tell us how it went this season in the Everglades?
Really well. I mean, a little bit tricky with the new reservation system in the park, but we had 8 or 10 new enthusiastic people who kind of all were assistant instructors, and then some of them move up to instructor. And we had some old timers come in, some people I hadn't seen. One, Moose Mutlow, I hadn't seen in 26 years. So I got to catch up with a bunch of well, at least three old timers. And, you know, program wise, we were at about half capacity because we were just doing 4 crews in the field at once with COVID precautions. And it worked out well. I mean, we were shut out of the park a little, but we're hoping to solve that problem. And, you know, it was a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of good work, and overall, I think, yeah, just a very positive season.
Thank you, Alan. And thank you so much for your tenure and your commitment and your passion, your continued passion for delivering courses in the Everglades. Those students had tremendous experiences, and we've heard from a lot of the students and parents. So you and Trish Heights are a dynamic duo, and thanks for all of your great work there. Do we have any other instructors that are on the call, current instructors that would like to come up and introduce themselves?
I'm John Carrick. I was an instructor and a CD in the 70s and 80s, and I'm coming back in May to CD a couple of vets courses. So I'm thrilled at the prospect.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, John. Okay, for the others of you on the call, we do have a way that we can figure out how you can get your woofer current if you would like to come back and join John. And so thank you, John. We're thrilled that you're coming out of the woodwork, as it were, to help us deliver courses.
Coming out of the grave to do it.
not quite. Okay. Sabrina, I'm going to turn it back over to you for right now.
Yeah, thanks. Broden, are you still on? I don't want to put you on the spot, but we do also have.
Yes, I am. Hi. No
Awesome.
worries.
You should introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Broden Topper. I'm the new base camp content coordinator at Table Rock. I am going to be arriving in North Carolina right around the 28th or 9th of this month, and we'll be spending 5 months at Table Rock, and I'm super duper excited. I was just in the last semester course. So I was in Everglades City, and Alan was indeed my instructor. So it's great to see your shining face, Alan. But yeah, I am super excited. I'm in Colorado right now. So in the next, I think 10 days or so, I am going to be driving 1,500 miles in 23 hours. And I'm super pumped about it, actually.
Well, we're so excited to have you. Welcome to the team. So great. And Ray Cooper, are you still there? Are we ready to, what's our next question?
Our next question has to do with the word in the street. And that is that the North Carolina Outward Bound School is celebrating its 55th anniversary this year. And let me hasten to say, in 1970, I started going to board meetings with Marjorie. So I've been around a long time. And I know that in the early 60s, Marjorie was working for the North Carolina Fund and came across Outward Bound and started raising money and a board to start the school. So the reason that it's celebrated in 1967 is because that's the anniversary of the very first course. So there you have it. And B, you know the rest of the story.
I sure do. I know the rest of the story, but we have two people on this call that are in the process right now of ensuring that we are going to have an amazing celebration for our 55th year. So I'm going to turn it over to Sabrina and Nicole to talk a little bit about what is coming up over the course of the next 6 to 7 months to celebrate our 55th.
Thanks, B. Yeah, so 55th anniversary. We aren't going to do it quite as big as the 50th for those of you that were here, but we do have some great things planned. So there will be a special 55th anniversary campaign that will be launching in April. So if you're not already, follow us on social media. We're going to have some exciting updates. You'll also be getting emails the same way you did just about this town hall to hear what's happening. So 55th campaign launching in April, and then we're going to have a special fundraising campaign in July. So mark your calendars, true 55th celebration, lots going on. We're looking forward to connecting with all of you again throughout the process. So, yeah.
Nicole, do you have anything you want to add?
I would just say we're going to have some great swag, ways to get it. We're going to have in-person, we're going to have virtual events. We're going to do it up as much as we can, even though it's not the 50th anniversary. So get excited. We're excited to connect with all of you and yeah, celebrate.
Okay, great.
And Ray, I think we're heading back to you. Is there any other questions that you would like to ask B?
Why, yes, there is. Thank you. My next question is for B. Armstrong. How do you see the future of the North Carolina Outward Bound School?
Well, that's quite a large question. I want to see first, how much time does everyone have on the call? Okay, I will narrow this down to some really succinct bullet points. I think the first thing to say is we have amazing opportunities right now at the North Carolina Outward Bound School. And I think this is one of the things that is truly coming out of this period that we've navigated, which has been like no other in the school's history. And as we start to bring programming back on, we are looking at a strategic planning process. So we have a new board chair in Sanji Jacobs. So Kent Satterfield has just passed the baton to Sanji. We have new leadership in the ED role. We have a number of new people who are starting in the town office as well. So it truly is a great opportunity to work with the board, take a step back, work with senior leadership, as well as all of the stakeholders throughout the school to take a look at our wilderness programming as well as our community-based programs and how we remain relevant and sustainable moving into the future. And so as we look at our populations, it's truly understanding our mission's not going to change. Our mission is very, very tried and true, but it's looking at mission, vision, and values, and really understanding that through thread as it comes into our strategic planning process. And as that comes into our operations, which will directly relate to our program mix, not only in the wilderness, but across the different communities that we're working in. So what we know is that we have thriving programs in Charlotte, and you heard Alexis just speak to that. Our Unity program has been very successful for a number of years. We've had programming in Atlanta in fits and starts. Our courses that we've been delivering at Table Rock, Cedar Rock, and in the Everglades have been successful for a very, very long time. We are now across the system, the entire Outward Bound system, taking a step back and looking at the length of all of our courses. And as we look at Outward Bound Services Group, OBSG, which is right now is located primarily in Colorado, we are starting to look at our trending and better understand what our fill rates are for all of the courses that are being offered, not only at the North Carolina Outward Bound School, but throughout the system. So that information, all of those data points help us understand how are we doing with meeting the demand with what our product is and the value proposition, thinking specifically across that. So does that mean that through our strategic planning process that we're going to come straight out of the gate and start changing the length of our courses? It does not mean that straight out of the gate. But what it does mean is that we're going to be far more strategic in understanding these staffing constraints. Because what we are seeing across the board is that a number of staff, again, all of the Outward Bound schools, as well as Knowles. I'm in contact with Knowles regularly and a number of other sector, I don't want to say competitors, but people who are doing very similar work that Outward Bound is doing throughout the country. And this seems to be a trend. So we're trying to better understand the length of our courses, our staffing constraints, and through our strategic planning processes, we will be addressing those, as well as the communities that we're working in, and taking a look at our DEI work and how we're going to move forward with all of our DEI work as well. I'm going to pause there, and I'm going to ask Sanji if there's anything that she would like to add to that.
Thank you, Bea. You know, I think the short answer is that the future, Ray, to answer your question, that the future of NCOBS is bright and that our mission has never been more relevant today and in the future than ever before. When you think about what we do, how we seek to serve students and adults and to transform lives through outdoor education, we're at a place in the world. If we think about what we've been through over the past 2 years, if we even look at what we're going through now in parts of the world, what's happening in Russia with the Russian war against Ukraine, the mission of NCOBS is so timeless and so important that everyone on this call should feel really proud to be part of the work that you all do and what we strive to do in the world. The question is, how do we continue to do that in a way that reaches people and takes our mission to more people as much as we can in a way that makes a lot of sense? So what Bea is doing is really putting a lot of work and putting some structure around how we're going to do that in the years ahead. And like she said, that may be taking a look at the balance between our community programs, where, like she said, we've had some fits and starts in places like Atlanta, looking at the strength and the core of our wilderness programs and how we offer them. And this is something that the entire Outward Bound system is actually looking at collectively. So there's shared learnings across the network that I think will be really important for us to tap into. But keeping that mission close and knowing that the work that we do every day, the work that all of you are doing every day is so important is really key. And that's why I think that we're going to be here for another 55 years and we're going to, do what we do in better and more amazing ways. And I think that another important part of that conversation is around inclusion, equity, and diversity. That's just something that's a reality in 2022. And we're going to lean into that, and we're going to do it in a loving, community-based way.
That's great. Thank you, Sanji. So we are starting to kick off the strategic planning process. And as a part of that, our community members will have the opportunity to be involved in that work. And so more to come on that. We will be holding surveys, focus groups. There will be an opportunity for you to weigh in, everyone within the community to weigh in with questions or comments about some of the areas that you think we should be looking at as we step into this work in earnest. Okay. All right, Sabrina, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Bea. Well, those are the updates. So now we're going to open it for question and answer for the last probably 15 minutes here so that we can wrap up on time and everyone can enjoy their St. Patrick's Day. So questions, if you want to drop them in the chat, I'll be monitoring that. We did actually already have one. So I'm going to start with that one, Bea. And then as more come in, we can do that. So Nick had a question about, in what ways has COVID changed your risk management considerations for good? And in what ways has COVID changed your ability to attract quality instructors?
Oh, those are two fantastic questions. So I think the majority of you on this call know that we have very, very robust safety standards and procedures, and those are set through OBUSA. And we have a whole safety management and risk management department that sets those standards system-wide. And then NCLUBS has a safety director as well. And so as we've been navigating COVID, this has been an ever-changing landscape. And working with the CDC regulations, working with all of the new variants that have come online since COVID started in the United States in earnest, there has been, suffice it to say, a lot of work that has gone into just ensuring that we are keeping both our staff and our students safe. And so I feel fantastic about the protocols that are in place and how we've been able to navigate that with system-wide at all of our base camps, because as you know, our instructors are living at the base camps. And so being able to ensure that they feel comfortable and confident in navigating COVID, we are still in a process right now where we have up-to-date status for all of our instructors as well as our open enrollment students. So that means that they are all up to date with their vaccinations. We still have mask mandates that are in place right now. We're in the process of working with our staff at NCLUBS, as well as today I had a call with one of the national safety directors about mask mandates across the system. So we are comparing notes of how each school is navigating that particular issue. So has it changed the way that we deliver courses? It has changed the way that we've delivered courses because we've had to stay current and be really cognizant of how we're working with students, social distancing. Alan can speak to that in the Everglades, you know, how we've had students sleeping on canoes, where we've had them camping, how we've had them camping, and the due diligence to ensure, again, that we're keeping everyone safe. I think we've got heightened awareness around COVID protocol, as well as our other risk management protocols that we have in place. Has it affected the quality of the instructors that we're recruiting? I don't think so. I think Outward Bound is quite fortunate to have a number of high quality people, just individuals, human beings that come into the system. And as you know, we've got a very stringent vetting process for someone to be hired, and they have to have certain technical expertise as well as people skills, as well as their wilderness first responders. So COVID, again, I think has just heightened our awareness all the way through. And We're truly about the people. And as Sanjay used the words leaning in, we've been leaning in to compassion, because truly our 4 pillars, and above all compassion, have been more relevant than ever as we've navigated COVID.
Thanks, Bea. And thanks for the question, Nick. There are no more questions in the chat, but I do want to give this opportunity in case anyone wants to come off mute and ask a question in person. Any other questions that we can answer about people, programs, priorities?
So how many people did you say you had in the pipeline for assistant instructor, and how many total lead instructors are there?
Hey, Henry, good to see you on the call. Thanks for the
Thanks.
question. Yeah, good to see you. So we've got 18 assistant instructors that are in the pipeline right now that are coming in and being trained. I mean, as we speak, they are in the field. So what we're doing right now is running a number of what we call trios. So we will have 2 assistant instructors that will be on course with instructors or lead instructors or course directors to ensure upskilling and just that training throughout the summer season. And that's a way, as we start to look at the progression of staff coming in through the pipeline to assistant instructor, lead instructor, course director, the timing of being able to assess those skill sets to ensure that those people who can be fast tracked, maybe because they're coming from a different organization, that we've got them accordingly tracked and traced in the pipeline. Your other question's a little bit harder of a question, primarily because we do have people that have been coming in, out, I would say some out of the woodwork, others that are coming in to work 1 course, or maybe coming in to work 2 courses, or maybe some that are coming in to work 3 courses. So if we look at the instructor or the lead instructor roles, that number could vary anywhere from 5 to 10, depending on the time of the year. Now, where do we want to be? I think, current state to ideal state, desired state, we'd really love to have a bench of 20 lead instructors. That would be a fantastic place for us to be able to pull from that bench across the seasons. And one thing that differentiates NCOPS, as you know, Henry, throughout the system, is that we do have year-round programming. A lot of the schools do not have year-round programming. And so this is an area as well that we've been looking and trying to figure out, how do we team? Sanjay mentioned this, we're on call. I'm on calls weekly with all of the EDs in the system. Every single executive director, every single school in the system is dealing with this issue right now. And so we are looking at that collectively of how to be proactive as opposed to reactive. And throughout the COVID years, we've been in a reactive stance. And we really want to be able to pivot into a proactive stance. And so as we look at recruiting and retention, what I commonly refer to daily, the staff are like, oh, here come the 2 R's. Our retention efforts are just as important as our recruiting efforts. And that really goes to our culture. And as we understand our culture, and Ray can speak to this in spades of, and many of you on this call can, what that culture felt like at Table Rock, or what that culture felt like at Cedar Rock, or what that culture felt like in the Everglades in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And as we've moved in to this new era of Outward Bound. So we're thinking a lot about Outward Bound NCOPS 2.0. Maybe we're at 3.0 now. And how do we sustain that culture all the way through? So that's looking at history, tradition, nostalgia, and then also thinking about how that plays forward into these new courses that we're offering and the communities that we're working with.
Thanks, very good.
Thanks, Bea.
I've got
Jim?
a question.
Yep.
Hi, Bea.
Hi.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I had a quick question about, we're talking about field staff, but what about folks that in the town office, issues regarding management stretch? Has COVID impacted that much? Are people feeling energized? They feel like they need some time off, or people being asked to do things that maybe they're not normally used to doing?
I think all of the above, and it's a really good question. Thank you for asking that question. During COVID, we stopped doing programming altogether. And during that time, a number of people were furloughed in the town office and positions were cut. And all of a sudden, people were wearing different hats, which tends to happen in nonprofits, but multiple hats were all of a sudden being stacked. And so what we found during that time is that in one way, it was somewhat exciting once people started coming back into the fold. So people were furloughed for a number of months and then came back on staff. New skill sets were developing left, right, and center by necessity. And I think within that, there has been some excitement that people have been able to learn new skills and step into arenas that they may not previously had the opportunity to step into. And so as we started to look at runways and skill set progression and trajectories, that has opened up a new arena, I think, for a number of the town office staff. And there are quite a few individuals on this call that could probably speak to that specifically, because we are turning over rocks and we're thinking about how do we innovate and how do we look at things in new and different ways, as opposed to the plug and play way that when we've had such a massive disruptor that has really caused us to pause and take a step back. Now, within that, as we've seen, throughout the country, we're dealing with staffing shortages, and we're also dealing maybe with people feeling, I don't know if burned out, if those are the right words to use, but that stretch. And I think that's just the consistency of having to navigate COVID in a risk management capacity, because what we're doing is working with students in the field. And that has really upped the ante for the time intensiveness of onboarding students and working with parents and working with families, because we want to ensure the safety, again, of our students and staff. So I think as we are starting to turn a bit of a corner, I feel like those pressure valves I can feel that quite a bit. Things are not that we're back to any type of, a new normal, if you will. But I think we're on our way. I would ask, are there any staff on the call that would want to add anything to that or have any comments about it? Erin, I see your hand.
Yeah, just chiming in from student services. I can report high morale, high energy, high enthusiasm for serving our students. We've got a solid team, and sure, yeah, COVID stress is real, workload is real, but I can tell you that our team is bringing it, and I think that is overall what I see cross-departmentally as well.
You mean there's more on us than we know?
Exactly.
Alexis, do you want to add anything to that from the community programming side?
Just to also echo Erin, but in community program side, we are extremely excited. It's just a fresh breath of fresh air, just to be able to really dive in deep about our community-based programs. Thankful for Bee's leadership and making this a really highlighted point in NCOBS. And we have a lot of work we are doing, and we are excited about it. And again, the morale is up, and we are thrilled, especially being out back on the field. So it's a great question that you ask, and thank you, Erin, for also bringing that up. The morale is high across the board.
It's a fantastic team. It's an amazing team.
Yep. Well, that's good to hear. Thanks.
Thanks all. So we have time for a few more questions. Jim, did I see that you had a question? And if not, there was one in the chat.
Yes, I didn't want B to get away without my asking her a question. So you were mentioning a little bit about looking at course duration going forward, and I mean it's got to be easier from a marketing point of view to market an 8-day course versus a 15-day course versus a 22-day course versus a 30-day course. But having come from, again, I have limited wilderness experience, but my course was a long course, and I happen to think that long courses have to be a lot more impactful on students than short courses. So I understand the dilemma of marketing, but I guess I'd like to hear a little bit more about your thoughts about what you were kind of thinking when you said what you said earlier. And then I guess the last comment on my part would be that, I mean, I view it as almost a marketing effort. I mean, if a student is on an 8-day course, we should be letting them know that, this is dipping their foot in the water, and they should explore longer courses, whether it's with another school, whether it's with our school, and getting all the schools to have that same kind of communications. But again, I just was curious about either where you were going or what you were thinking or whatever.
Thanks, Jim. It is a really good question. And this is, I think, the age-old question in the system throughout the outward bound schools. If you think about, worldwide, there are over 40 outward bound schools. There are about 45. And so if you look at the 11 schools that are in the United States, and then you think about all of the schools that are a part of Outward Bound International, this particular question is something that has been, as many of you on the call know, analyzed. There have been many, many white papers that have been written about the lengths of Outward Bound courses. I just attended a forum in Black Mountain where a number of the different academics, people who are running outdoor programs throughout the United States, were presenting their white papers, basically their research that they're doing to ensure that they have tenure moving forward in their academic post. And one of the papers that I was there to see presented was about the efficacy of an outward bound course and over the past 4 decades. So as a part of that white paper, all of the research that was done basically went back to a subset of students who had done courses throughout the United States, looking at the course length, looking at the course area, and then understanding 30 years later, how were they impacted by their outward bound experience. So within that subset of data, community programs were also looked at. And so this is an area that, again, we are starting to look across the board. And I was thinking, the magic wand exercise of being able to look at demographics and looking at age of students, looking at where students are coming from and where students are going, what types of courses. In other words, are they doing whitewater rafting? Are they doing rock climbing and mountaineering in the Rockies? Are they coming to North Carolina and doing a course in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and the length of those courses? So what we know right now is that our populations are changing. And that's not only with students, it's also with staff. And so as we start to look at our staffing models and we look at our students, again, it's this demographic piece really comes into that equation. So what we see with a number of the teenagers is that, kids have sports camps, they have science camps, they've got different college things that they're going to, they have college tours, or they have, there are just so many competitors in the marketplace right now. And we're seeing a drop off for some lengths of courses in certain areas, but not in others. So we want to better understand those data points. And that really requires market research, and that requires focus groups, and that requires looking across the board and understanding other competitors in the marketplace. And are they seeing these same trends? So we're in the process right now of getting really curious about that system-wide. The other thing that we're seeing is that for our long courses like Pathfinder or outdoor education courses, for NCUPS, those courses have been filling. For other schools, those courses have not been filling. And though the courses have been filling, they've been extremely difficult to staff. And that's across the board. Every Outward Bound school. I spend a lot of time with Terry, who's the CEO at Knowles, on the phone, comparing data points. Knowles is seeing that too. And so these are, again, as we go to market trends and we really understand our sector, what we're seeing across our sector, better understanding our product and understanding the demand and what are the algorithms there, if you will, as we start to look at that. Now, I feel very strongly that our mission, as Sanjay said, is more relevant now than ever. And we've got great opportunity here. But I want to ensure as we're stepping into this, that we're being very cognizant around what those trending lines are and how we are nimble and agile enough to ensure that we are meeting the demand in the marketplace and that we're able to successfully deliver our mission through our staffing models. So those are the criteria, if you will, that we're starting to look at with a fine-tooth comb. Does that?
It does. But again, I think part of what my thought process is, it's just easier to sell a 15-day course than a 22-day or an 8-day course for that matter. And I just hope that we don't lose sight of the idea that if we communicate well, the idea that people are on an 8-day course, but this should not be the only Outward Bound or wilderness course that they do in their lifetime, that they may aspire to doing something else. And if we could, and again, maybe they're in North Carolina for 8 days, maybe they want to go to the Rockies for 22 days. All the schools should be selling that whole concept of this is where, this is part one, but you got part 2 and part 3 to come. And as long as we don't, take the easy road, really, which is not marketing or not communicating the idea that they should go beyond that 8-day course. That's my concern. And again, from an alumni perspective, if you're looking for alumni contributions down the road, I just think you're going to get a lot more contributions from people that do 22-day courses because they're more impactful than a one-time 8-day course and they're done. But that's just my perspective.
Yeah, no, I think your points are extremely well taken. And please know we are talking about this, Jim, and we've got a really great track record here at NCUPS of students doing a virtual program, then going from a virtual program to a wilderness program, or as Alexis said, we have a number of students, who do a wilderness program and then they come back and do a longer wilderness program. So we do have a track record, a proven track record of this at NCUPS. And so do the other schools. And so I'm not going to take up more time on this call, but please do know that this is a part of the dialogue that we're having at the national level.
Thanks, Jim. So we are coming up on time and want to, again, make sure that we are conscious of everyone's time and end on time. So unless there's any burning questions, I'll pause for about 10 seconds. Perfect. Great. Well, thank you all for being here. B, is there anything you want to close out with?
I do. Again, I want to thank you all for being here. It's great to see you all. And I can't wait to meet some of you in person. I've talked to a lot of you on the phone or via email, but I'm really, really looking forward to meeting you in person. So thanks for your time and joining us tonight. And we're excited. Sanjay and I are super excited stepping into this new chapter at the North Carolina Outward Bound School, as well as all the staff on the call. So big shout out to the staff for all the great work you're doing. I want to read something that was sent to Bill Murray. So Bill Murray has been with NCUPS for a very long time, over 20 years, and he is currently our Chief Operating Officer. And he got a note on LinkedIn recently, and I'm going to read it to you. Hi, Bill. David Dixon here. In-club student of yours from July 1987. Crew number 6, I believe. Kate Belknap and you were our instructors. Thought I would attempt to reconnect with you in bold. My outward bound experience has been one of the most impactful things I've done. Thank you for your great leadership, David. So our work is more relevant today more than ever. It always has been. We are changing lives through challenge and discovery. And I want to thank you all for being a part of that. And I want to thank you again for joining us tonight. It's great to see you.
Thanks, B. Thanks everyone for being here. Look for the recording if something really resonated with you. And we have more of these scheduled for July and October of this year. So hope you'll join us.
And maybe we'll get Ray to come back and help facilitate. Thank you, Ray, for
Yes, thank you, Ray.
Yeah.
Thank you all for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you. It's good to see all of you.
Bye,
Thanks,
y'all.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.